Have you ever wondered why we resist? Why, even when faced with overwhelming evidence, a part of us digs in its heels, refusing to yield? It's a question as old as humanity itself. We call it stubbornness, pride, a rebellious spirit. But at its core, it's a condition of the heart. A heart that, despite everything it sees, everything it knows, chooses its own way. Think about the ancient Israelites in the book of Exodus. This wasn't a story they heard from a grandparent. They lived it. They saw the 10 plagues descend upon Egypt, each one a direct, supernatural intervention. They watched as the Nile, the very lifeblood of a mighty empire, turned to blood. They felt the darkness that could be physically touched. They were there. Their own eyes witnessed these events. Miracles that defied all logic and reason. And then came the ultimate escape. An entire army, the most powerful in the world, bearing down on them. And what happens? The Red Sea parts. Not a gentle tide receding, but a wall of water on their right and on their left. They walk through on dry ground. Can you imagine the feeling? The sheer awe, the terror, the unbelievable relief. They saw the water crash back down, swallowing their enemies whole. They were saved. They were free. You would think, after an experience like that, their faith would be unbreakable, that their trust in the God who had just performed the impossible would be absolute. But what happens next is a profound lesson for all of us. It wasn't long before they started to grumble. They complained about the lack of water. They complained about the food. They forgot the chains of slavery and started romanticizing the very life they were rescued from. They stood at the foot of Mount Sinai, a mountain literally trembling and smoking with the presence of God. And while their leader was receiving the divine law, what did they do? They collected their gold, melted it down, and fashioned an idol. A golden calf! They began to worship the work of their own hands, just days after witnessing the power of the unseen God. How? How could they be so blind? How could their hearts be so stubborn? It's easy for us to read this story from thousands of years away and judge them. To think, I would never have done that. If I saw the Red Sea part, I would be a believer for life. But would we? Really? Let's bring this into our own lives. How many times has God worked in your life? Think about it. That moment of provision when you didn't know how you'd make it. That unexpected phone call. That changed everything. The healing you couldn't explain. The sense of peace that washed over you in a moment of chaos. The near miss on the highway. The relationship that was restored against all odds. These are our parting seas. These are our pillars of fire in the night. We see these things. We experience them. We acknowledge them as miracles, big or small. In that moment, we feel a surge of gratitude and faith. We promise to trust more, to worry less, to follow more closely. But what happens a week later? A month later, the memory fades. The urgency of our need is gone. And that old, familiar stubbornness creeps back in. We start to rely on our own strength again. We rationalize away the miracle, calling it luck or coincidence. We go back to worrying about the same things, chasing the same idols, whether they're made of gold or made of career ambition, financial security, or the approval of others. Our hearts are not so different from those of the ancient Israelites. We have a default setting, and that setting is rebellion. It's a deep-seated desire to be our own God, to sit on the throne of our own lives. We want the benefits of God's power, but we don't want to submit to His authority. We want the rescue, but we don't want the rescuer to tell us where to go next. We want the fire, but we don't want to be refined by it. This is the stubborn heart. It's a heart that says, I know better. It's a heart that, even after being carried through the sea, looks at the desert ahead and says, I'd rather go back to Egypt. It prefers the familiar chains of slavery to the uncertain freedom of the promised land. Why do we do this? Because faith is scary. True faith requires surrender. It means admitting that we are not in control. It means trusting in a God we cannot see over the circumstances we can. It means walking forward into the unknown, holding only to a promise. Our stubbornness is a defense mechanism. It's a shield we use to protect ourselves from the vulnerability of complete trust. If I trust God completely with my finances, what if I lose everything? If I trust Him with my relationships, what if I get hurt? If I trust Him with my future, what if it's not the future I planned for myself? The what-ifs are the language of a stubborn heart. It's the sound of us wrestling with God, trying to maintain some semblance of control. So, what is the remedy? How do we break this cycle? The story of Exodus doesn't just show us the problem. It points to the solution. It's not about trying harder. It's not about making more promises we can't keep. The only cure for a stubborn heart is a new heart. A heart that has been softened and changed by grace. The answer isn't found in seeing more miracles. The Israelites saw more miracles than almost anyone in history, and it wasn't enough. The answer is found in faith. Not a faith in our ability to be good, but faith in God's ability to be God. It's a conscious, daily choice to lay down our own understanding and pick up His promises. It begins with humility. It begins with a prayer. God, I can't. My heart is hard. I am prone to wander. Change me. It asks acknowledging that our own efforts will always lead us back to building golden paths in the valley. We need a divine intervention not just in our circumstances, but within our very own chests. This journey of faith is a continuous process of surrender. Every morning, we are faced with a choice. Will I trust my own instincts and my own strength today? Or will I trust the God who parted the sea? When anxiety creeps in, will I listen to its lies? Or will I remember the God who provided manna in the wilderness? When I am tempted to complain, will I focus on what I lack? Or will I give thanks for the miraculous freedom I've been given? The stubborn heart is relentless. It will always try to reassert its control. But God's grace is more relentless still. His mercy is new every morning. He doesn't give up on us, just as He didn't give up on the Israelites. He continued to lead them, to provide for them, and to love them, even in their rebellion. Today, take a moment to look back at your own Red Sea moments. Don't let them fade into the background. Write them down. Remember them. Let them be the stones of remembrance that anchor your faith when the desert winds of doubt and fear begin to blow. The fight against the stubborn heart is not won with a single, grand decision. It is won in the small, daily choices to believe, to trust, and to follow the one who has already proven He is worthy of it all. The only true remedy is faith. Thank you for watching.